What's up guys, Nightingale here, and welcome to another Beginner's Handbook video. Today, we're going to be covering Artifacts 101. As a new player, you're probably getting bombarded with all these artifacts. You're seeing 5-star, 4-star, 3-star artifacts, 2-star artifacts, and you're going, what in the world am I going to do with all of this stuff? Well, I'm going to help you today sort through all of that and get you on your way to understanding more about artifacts. Now, I want to say this. As a beginning player, anything 3-star and higher, just save one of everything, lock it away like you see here, and just hang on to it. Why? Because you never know if it's gonna get a buff. Now, 2, if you've been playing for a little while and you see that you're never using an artifact in, like, say, the lower 3 stars, then it's probably okay to say, maybe I should fodder off of one of these just because I don't really need it. I kind of need space. That's fine. 3-star artifacts are probably the most easy thing to get a hold of, especially if you're doing pulls, whether it be, you know, on Covenant, Mystic, Raid Up banner. You're going to be getting a good bit of 3-star artifacts just in general, as it is. Even your daily summon. Most of them are 3-star artifacts or 3-star hero. So it's safe to say, at least in the beginning, hang on to one of everything. And then make your decisions as you go and see how you're progressing and if anything works for what you're trying to do. The big ones, though, that you do want to keep your eye out for is Daydream Joker. This is one of the best PvE artifacts in the game. Why? This is why. Because it increases damage dealt by 3% of the enemy's max health when attacking, and it also scales with crit damage. This is what allows your Wyvern teams to do extensive amounts of damage. So, anything that has a large health pool, this is an artifact for it, especially with PvE. PvP, not so much. Doesn't really work that well. Too low of a health pool. Another couple interesting artifacts that I do want to point out is, one is Ancient Sheath. While it may look a little bland at the beginning, as you start progressing later on, there is some content that does not work with Daydream Joker. It just doesn't work at all. So, Ancient Sheath is a decent one if you just need a random artifact to get some extra damage off. This is a good one. Increases base at +5, it's 8%. You can check the journal for the max roll. I haven't rolled one yet. For new players that have just started, we'll say, post-Guilty Gear collab, this is your Portrait of Savior. You will need to have at least one of these for some of your PvE content or just farming in general. This is probably your farmer's artifact if you've just started recently, say since the beginning of April. I don't remember exact dates of Guilty Gear, but I know it was in March, I believe, is when the collab was rolled around. So it's going to be a while before you can get your hands on an actual Portrait of Savior, but this is the poor man's Portrait of Savior. It's a good artifact for anybody farming. You can use this in PvP for certain aspects, but, you know, respect it. It is a 3-star artifact. Don't expect too much out of it, but it is, again, the poor man's portrait. Something else I should point out is there are some good ones that to hang on to is definitely Oath Key, Timeless Anchor. You probably want to hang on to at least one Prophetic Candlestick. These are good artifacts depending on what niche things you're trying to do. But, again, you may have other 4-star artifacts or 3-star artifacts or 5-star artifacts that do the job better for what you're after. As you can see here, here is a Portrait of Savior. This is what you're actually after instead of the Tonfa, but this is limited. You can only get this while Guilty Gear collab is around. It is much better, but again, you have to take what you can get. When it comes back around, definitely keep your eye out on this. At least get 1 or 2 of these maxed on your account when the Guilty Gear collab ever rolls around. You definitely want to get your hands on this. It's a great artifact in general. We also have some 4-star artifacts that we've picked up through side story events that they had in the game. A couple of ones that you want to look at is Moonlight Dreamblade's definitely a good one to hang on to. Definitely keep one of those. Silver Rain can be very good. Dust Devil can be good depending on what content you're trying to beat. Elia's Knife is pretty decent. Water's Origin's a good one. A very good Soul Weaver artifact is Wondrous Potion Vial. Do note this. Even just at +9, it has a 65% chance to dispel 1 buff from an ally at the beginning of the turn, or from an ally at the beginning of the turn. This is really good for somebody like Tamarin, Montmorency. I don't think you technically would want to use this on your Angelica because you're probably using her, or well, you're technically using both. If you're using a Wyvern tank, one of the Soul Weavers for Wyvern tank, Montmorency or Angelica, you probably don't want this artifact on them. There's better. But this is also a good one for like clearing Abyss, Labyrinth, anything that's going to be giving you debuffs that you know is coming at you. This is definitely a good artifact for that. Another one to do note is every knight does need, or you at least need one knight wielding Arius. It's a great damage mitigation artifact. It shares the damage with your tank. I do want to point this out right here and now. This does not stack with SSB. So if you're using Seaside Bellona and you have this on your knight, it is not stacking with her. It's a wasted artifact. If you are using Seaside Bellona, do put up something like Adamant Shield, which is a different type of damage reduction effect, which actually works out pretty well. So do note that. That's with SSB. Now, yes, the other members do get the damage sharing, if I'm reading it, if I'm understanding it correctly, but this is just better overall if you're going to put SSB and a knight in the same team. Now, one of the most important 4-star artifacts I think you can probably get your hands on besides Arius is Tag of Hell's Ancient Book. It's right now in the powder shop for you newer players. That's going to be a little bit harder to get your hands on because there are other things that are more important that you need to spend your powder on, but it is in shop right now. For if you happen to have a stash and you've gotten some other things, which we'll talk about later, this does increase your souls by 20 per book. So if you have multiple of these, they do stack. You can gain up to 80 souls in total. It's gross. Who uses that? Her. You can use this on any mage. It's a very good mage artifact. It allows you to have 2 actual burnable souls at the beginning of your battle. Really super powerful. I like Caladra. I don't get to use it that often. I use it on Cirilla right now. It's a good, decent damage artifact for debuffed enemies. Again, you can see its full max stats. Sarah Wren is a very good artifact if you need to inflict random debuffs. This works on great on AoE damage dealers who you're wanting to apply random debuffs to. This can also be used for, say, if you happen to have Lulika and you're struggling with debuffs, you can actually use this on Lulika and gain the extra random debuff. I think the only one he can't take is Silence and Sleep. But as far as the decreased attack, decreased hit, and poison, it can apply those, which will help you out immensely, but you will notice the resist if it happens to hit Silence or Sleep. Next up, that is a good one to point out, is Leela Violin. We talked about this in the Hall of Trials video. You do at least want somebody to have one of these around on your account. It costs 100 Wisdom Gaze, which is pretty expensive for new players because you're trying to get exclusive equipment. So do note that it is slightly expensive for you, but it's very potent at plus 15, has a 60% chance to dispel one buff from the enemy after attacking. This is how I'm able to farm Asmonak, and it goes up to, I believe, 80% when it's maxed, but still, this is very good. Another interesting artifact to note, because SSB is live right now, is if you do not happen to pull Ringar's Drink and you are trying to take her into PvP, this can be actually very good. Rosa is a pretty interesting artifact, increases dual attack chance by 7.7% and increases the attack by 30% when it's not the caster's turn. Pretty good. Another good one to note, a very important one for some heavy hitting characters in the game, is Hellcutter. You do want to put this on very slow units. Do not put this on fast units because you do want them to slowly build up that Hellcutter attack per every... When somebody takes a turn, it stacks. Now, here's the issue. As soon as your unit gets brought in for a dual attack, goodbye stacks, it's gone. It uses it right then. So, you'll get frustrated occasionally if your unit's too slow, and you got it all procced up, and everybody's taking their turns, and you're ready, you attack with your unit right before that, so say in this case with Little Queen Charlotte, we have another unit go, she duels attacks with them, there goes your Hellcutter stacks, LQC now has nothing on that artifact on her turn, plus other than the original start of it. A good artifact to note here is Sepulchrum, Sepulchrum? Yeah. I don't know why my brain just went dead on that. This is a cheap Proof of Valor if you don't want to farm it out from your guild shop for warriors. This works for warrior only. So if you have General Purgus and you don't want to burn your Proof of Valor on him, which is fine because it's a great artifact, this is the cheap version of it. Do note that. This works very well for Wyvern. You do not have to have the Proof of Valor on your General Purgus to make him work. This works just as well. So keep that in mind. Another guild artifact everybody needs to get out of the guild shop and max is Symbol of Unity. This is very, very busted. This is one of my biggest reasons of pushing, trying to get you guys to get armbands so hard, is so that you can get a hold of one of these artifacts. It increases your hit chance and damage dealt. It's such a good artifact. Getting into the 5 stars now. This is where things get a little more subjective now as we come up even further, because this is where you'll have to figure out builds and figure out what is good, what is bad for what are you trying to do with your units. Obviously, Alexa's Basket is one of the most god tier artifacts that we have in the game for thieves. Now, keep that in mind. It's just for thieves. It has a 40% chance to grant you greater attack buff and or critical hit chance for 1 turn at the start of the turn. So, units like Arbiter Vildred, Tempest Surin, and Kisei are all big known thieves that can take advantage of this. This is a very good artifact for them. This was once one of the worst artifacts, buffed into one of the best. So this is why we suggest that you all hang on to at least one of everything. This is walking proof of it. A horrible artifact, turn amazing, and 1 buff. A couple good artifacts that you want to keep your eye out on for is Rod of Amaryllis. This definitely is a great healing artifact, so do note this. This is one of the reasons why people used to come in my stream and be like, hey, why is your Momo doing so much healing? Mine doesn't do that. 1, it was the runes. 2, it was her skill ups. 3, I also had Rod on her. This Rod, plus 9. And people were like, wow, I wasn't expecting her to do all that healing. That's why. That's where it came from. Touch of Rekos is another great artifact, especially for counter SSBs. This basically turns Seaside Bologna into a healing factory for you. But you need Rowana and the artifact. It's wonderful. Very, very good artifact. Another good one that people need to keep an eye out for is Elbrus Ritual Sword. This is a very good counter artifact for knights. Abyssal Crown can be quite trolly for mage characters. This is another good one that you definitely want to kind of keep your eye out for, especially if you're going into PvP. A lot of people talk about Dignus Orb. I know there's a couple out there that are very good for Vivian, but I don't know. Where I'm at, there's a couple different artifacts. This is definitely one that I'm thinking about personally. Song of Stars is a major artifact for a lot of people because this is what's getting them into Wyvern 13. They put this on their Furious. It allows you to have the target debuff thrown up onto the target without having somebody like Seaside Bologna, who has it naturally baked into her kit. She can do, with this artifact, Furious can give you plenty of debuff. So look at picking this up if you can, if it shows up in the shop, or if it's pullable, try to get that. It's on Isaria's banner, so good luck, it's pretty rare. And here it is. The Holy Grail artifact that everybody looks for when Seaside Bologna shows up. Rengar's Special Drink. Now, I want to point this out now in the video, and it's cute, it's adorable that everybody is out here trying to do it. I can't tell you how many times somebody shows me their SSB and says, look at my Wyvern SSB, and this is on it. It's adorable that you think this is the artifact for her for this. This is not. This is a PvP artifact. Can be used in some PvE, but is not a PvP or a PvE artifact. This is a PvP artifact. If you're going to use her in Wyvern, you need Daydream Joker. Period. All right? This is a PvP artifact. It's amazing at what it can do, but don't try to take her into Wyvern with this. Now, you can use this, and I'm pretty sure if I'm understanding this correctly, this is needed for the Wyvern one-shot team, but it's not for actually taking down the Wyvern, because that's not her role in that team. Now we're going to talk about 2 other limited artifacts. One is Miss Confile, which is Elfelt's artifact. When Guilty Gear is up, this is definitely an artifact you want to look at trying to pick up. It is very, very busted. You can use this on a lot of Rangers in PvE or PvP to apply a defense down. So do keep that in mind. As well as Junkyard Dog is another limited artifact. This was technically given out for free for most people who played prior to the last Guilty Gear. But I think, if I remember correctly, this was only available in the shop, which was a little dirty that they didn't do the event again to where you could get it for free. Just like there's some people out there with max limit break souls or max imprinted souls, but it's okay. I got one plus 15. It works wonders. I'm going to take it. I'm happy. It goes on my Clarissa for extra damage. Is it needed? No. But does it help? Yes. Another cool one that I have that I'm really, really interested in to see what we can do is Flan's artifact, which is after the caster uses a non-attack skill, increases combat readiness by 10%. And acquires 10 souls. That can only be done once. So I think there's a lot that can be done here. It's a really cool artifact. Definitely keep an eye on it. There can be some very good power behind that. Now, what do you do once you've kind of gone through and you see kind of what you have? Well, you can do a couple different things. We're going to do this really quick to this Cursed Compass. I'm not actually going to delete it, but if you're going through and you're wanting to clean up your inventory, just click Arrange, you click on this, and you sell it for powder. That's what you do to all your not needed 3 stars. So remember, keep in mind, once you've locked one and you've max limit break, and it's been max limit break, which you can tell by the full dashes across all these artifacts, once you have one of those, Daydream Jokers, you're going to want multiple. I have 5, I have an addiction, it's okay. I'm going to go to Daydream Joker Therapy, eventually, anonymous, whatever. And I'm going to stop building these things. But the way I'm thinking in my mind is I want 2 on my Wyvern team and never touch them, and then all the others are for other builds, other things, whether it be if I'm trying to do something in Abyss, if it's for random PvE content or another hunt. I have a few that are available that I don't have to take off my Wyvern team, and they can stay where they're at and I never have to think about it. I'm not going to sell this, but just note that you can scroll up and anything that's locked won't show up, and if it is not locked, you can click on it, add it in here, sell it for dust. Now, what do you do if you want... What do you do with your dust? Great question. Come to the powder shop. Here you go. Right now, SSB is up on banner, and the way this works is this rotates, I believe, around every 45 days. It's somewhere up in there. I know it's more than 30 days, but I know it's less than 60, so I'm thinking it's 45. Makes the most sense in my head. The top part of the shop, these first 2 artifacts rotate per banner rotation. So if I understand this correctly, that Seaside Bologna one will still be here, and then Sez's artifact will change out here tonight, actually, with reset. The Bottle of Knowledge can only be purchased once per shop refresh. Not per one of these, but per shop refresh this can be bought. So this is going to take you quite a long time to be able to limit break a 5-star artifact with this. Do not buy charms, no matter how desperate you are. No matter how desperate, do not buy charms. Now, for the entirety of the shop, these artifacts are available for purchase. Now, am I very salty that I purchased Unseen Observer for 240 powders of knowledge, 240 powders of knowledge? Yes, I am. But it's okay. We moved on. It's here for now 180. This happens. It's part of the game. I paid for it to have it now. I could have waited and I could have gotten it right here. There's some good artifacts in here to do note is Tag of Hell's Book, especially if you have the powder to do it. But keep this in mind. This is very, very important for new players. Collab is coming eventually. I know we keep stringing you along. There's that. But the more important thing is right now, while this video is live until July 15th, which right now is the 7th, so there's only 8 more days left for this. Try to use your powder to get Rengar's Drink if you did not pull it. I know you just heard me rant about it saying it's not a PvE artifact. Still, it's important so you can get it, and if you want to start pumping bottles into it, you can. That's why. What are you after basically out of here? It depends on what's up in the shop. This can be a very helpful place to catch an artifact that you may have missed or just really need or want a dupe of. But typically, you want to save your powder for limited artifacts or for when limited banners get posted that you can buy the artifact. Again, you can only buy it once, but still it gives you the ability to at least obtain the artifact. Now, before we close, what I want to do is I want to go over into the journal and show you a couple other limited artifacts that you need to keep your eyes out on because these are important. Now, a couple artifacts that aren't limited that I see right here that you want to keep an eye out for is Time Matter. This is actually a very, very cool artifact for Vivian. So if you have this, you pull Vivian. This is a really cool artifact. I'm still searching for this one. And the other one that I caught my attention was... Okay, maybe I didn't. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the limited ones because that's actually more important than anything else. The limiteds are, to keep an eye out for, is right here. Draco Plate is one that is a very detailed-oriented artifact and a lot of plot to it. This artifact is Luna's artifact, so she's only run once a year, so this will be your one chance to pick up the artifact is whenever Luna's around. Increases critical damage by 30% while decreasing the damage suffered by critical hits by 16% at max. This is a very busted artifact. There's a lot of characters that can use this in their best in slot. So that's one you definitely want to hang on to. It's not necessarily... This is just because it's coming soon. This is a limited artifact, Champions Trophy. It's going to be on Holiday Euphem's banner. This isn't a must pull. unlike Rengar's Drink, but do note that is very important. Torn Sleeve is actually very, very useful. This is Baikon's artifact from Guilty Gear. This is definitely one worth picking up, especially at max. That's very huge for debuffs. Most of you, by the time Guilty Gear runs around, unless you're brand new and you're watching this video and Guilty Gear's about to be run and you're brand new, then you probably want to get this artifact from Guilty Gear because this will help you with your Wyvern debuffs. But anybody who's watching this now from the beginning of the Beginner's Handbook, by the time that rolls around, you're not going to need it. You're going to be slaying the dragon. I think it's probably better I go in here. So the other artifact that I want to point out is Guiding Light. Where is it? Here we go. This is Cerise's artifact. Guiding Light is a very important PvP artifact later on down the road, and you will want multiple of these. So don't combine them when you get them. Unless you are hard whaling, you can start combining them. But chances are you're probably going to have to bottle these for most free-to-play players. But it's very good. At the start of the battle, grants stealth for 1 turn. At the end of the caster turn, has a up to 70% chance to grant stealth for 2 turns. Stealth can be granted at the end of the caster's turn, can be activated once every 2 turns. It's a very good artifact. There are several characters that are going to use that. It is limited, so you will need to pull it whenever Cerise's banner is up. As far as any other just noteworthy artifacts that are now not limited, one that I see right here, Idol's Cheer off of Tamarin's banner is very good. It's not necessary that you pull it off her banner. This is one that you can pull in your general pool. You may have even started with it from your daily 10 pulls or just randomly pulling it. You may already have this. It's not limited, but this is a very good artifact in general. I know a lot of people like Celestine. It's a pretty good healing artifact for Soul Weavers. It's really, really good. Rihanna and Luciela, this is actually a pretty interesting thief artifact. I'm looking at getting it whenever I can find a time to pull it on somebody's banner or wherever. I would actually like to try to go for this. A couple thieves can use this. That actually can be very, very, very good. And as far as that, those are also Sigurd's Scythe, but this was just on Ravi's banner, so unless this is more in the future, this is an artifact you do want to get. There are several units that do take this. I've also seen this on people's Sigurds, and I don't understand why. Yes, it's good, but that is not what this artifact's for. This is like a Ravi artifact. This is like an ML Ken artifact. This is not that type of artifact. But yes, that's going to take care of it. So if you guys have any questions about artifacts, hit me up in the comments below. I'll try to help out as best as possible. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.